Okay, good evening, everyone. It's our regular Tuesday yoga samadhi that's happening back at the Hermitage. The numbers of people who are, especially in this area, COVID has been affecting, has increased, so that there's a concern by quite a few people. And so then we thought it more prudent to do our online gathering rather than the on-site in-house gathering at Yoga Samadhi. Perhaps we could begin by a chant. Chant the Metta Sutta. Everybody's in need of loving kindness these days.
Do we want to ask people about if there's any comments about sound quality? Please let us know. I'll pick that up. Any message?
Yeah, that would be helpful. Give us some feedback, sound quality. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Something that okay, great. Okay, we'll begin with the chant. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease. Let none deceive.
Whatever living
beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none do anger or ill will, wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, upwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Okay, so we take the opportunity to sit quietly and to bring attention to our body, bring attention to our breath, just letting the rhythm of the breathing help to settle and soothe the mind. There's a really soothing quality to just paying attention to something simple and repetitive, but that is also nuanced as well. So we have to be alert, we have to be present, but there is a rhythm and and an ease that is very settling. So allowing the mind, the heart to settle, but also lifting up alertness, attention, mindfulness. So as we do that, as we just chanted, bringing attention to the quality of loving kindness, a sense of well-wishing is probably a better literal translation for loving kindness. It's like in that chant, that wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. That's the underlying, intention, volition, the direction that the mind is leaning towards, that sense of well-wishing, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease, and may they be happy. And all beings, of course, including oneself, and in fact, beginning with oneself. Just that sense of, as one breathes in, again, that sense of the rhythm, the sense of touch, or the awareness of the presence of the breath coming in, the breath going out. It's like bringing in that well-wishing into this whole sense of our body, our mind, our whole being, allowing it to pervade, to soothe, breathing out, allowing that well-wishing to start to extend, beginning with just the feeling of being right around ourselves. It's sort of like creating almost like a little bubble of well-wishing, and then we can allow that to extend, expand. So we can just take this next period of time, sit quietly, let the let the mind, let the heart settle. You don't have to force it, try to make it peaceful. Just try to get out of the way and allow it to settle. we can end the meditation. Perhaps we could, if anybody needs to have a bit of a stretch, just a minute or two, have a just ease the body, and then we'll just stretch a bit, and then gather. Could you press that? Yeah. Okay, again, welcome everyone. We're gathering this evening and virtually, and it's good to see so many people together with the increase in the of incidences of COVID cases. Then there's a certain caution and a sense of trying to get a balance of how to respond appropriately. So this is what we're working with, and and it's dukkha. That's the reality, and of course that's nothing new. That sense of this is exactly what the Buddha pointed to, and being willing to acknowledge and be alert, attentive to that reality of dukkha, and that sense of dukkha as a not just a suffering. That's a bit narrow and on a certain level a bit dramatic. That we can work up a big story about me and my suffering, but the sense of dukkha being a bit more pervasive, a bit more this sense of unsatisfactoriness, just this sense of things never being quite right, quite perfect. However hard we try, however much effort we put into trying to control, correct, keep steady, whatever. It's all the sense of there is a kind of a falling apart, or a sense of just not being able to sustain, and that's okay, because that actually is what makes things real, and to be willing to be reflective, investigative, aware, alert, and clear in how we deal with things, rather than reverting to a kind of an ideal of how we think it should be, or being disappointed and upset because it's not the way we want it to be, or desperately trying to escape from what we don't like, trying to get what we like and what we want. Those are the kind of efforts that just keep us unsatisfied, keep us within this realm of discontent. So that this is it's just this willingness to look at things through the lens of what is. What are we experiencing? What is the quality of it? And how do we adapt? How do we relate? How do we work with that? So that's the when the Buddha speaks of dukkha, and this is the because that's the foundation of what the Buddha taught from the very first teaching that he gave through 45 years of teaching, and then and certainly the Thai forest tradition, Luang Por Pasanno, that was a cornerstone, or the foundation basis of how he taught, what he'd return to and try to get us to reflect on and investigate. So the that sense of I mean, it's not lifting up dukkha as a concept, but bringing it into the realm of experience. That's exactly what the Buddha is trying to get us to do, is trying to get us to pay attention to the realm of experience, the realm of feeling. And Luang Por Pasanno was very much returning you to that over and over and over again, and that sense of how he would express it. Remember, one image that he used is just like with because we keep trying to describe it in whatever language we use, and we're constantly trying to describe or categorize experience, and one of the things that how Luang Por Pasanno said, it was kind of like with water, in that sense of just warm water is a you say that in English, and there's everything is you've got words that describe that in say in French, in German, in Thai, and in Hindi and Sinhala and Chinese and Japanese. There's all different words, and they're all different, and it's kind of confusing, maybe. But he said that's not the point. The point is the actual experience. That's how you know it. You don't know it through the language. So dukkha is similar to that, and that's how I would say Ajahn Chah would say, because it's not about the words. It's not about the descriptions. It's not about the concepts. It's about the experience, and similarly with peace, with happiness, with well-being. Those are our experiences that we have to tune into, and of course the habit of mind is to go to the description, go to the language, and that sense of returning to experience, and this is the essence of Dhamma. So as we returning to that experience, the foundation has to be awareness, has to be knowing, and this is the say the basic say translation of the word Buddha is knowing. This knowing, awareness, the kind of compassionate knowing, a clear knowing, but that sense of knowing, being the knowing, and that's it's kind of that is the foundation of the Thai forest tradition, Ajahn Chah's teachings, and that's being able to return to the knowing. And it's not something that you're having to create or hold on to. It's fundamental to our existence. It's just that we complicate it, we confuse it, we doubt it. We worry about whether our knowing is good as somebody else's knowing, and it's all of the proliferations and projections that keep getting in the way of this fundamental knowing, knowing, awareness, clear. A sense of clarity that we all have. So that I think one of the most direct expressions of that I found is from one of the Thai forest teachers, one of the senior disciples of Ajahn Mun, Nupurdun, and he does like a reconfiguring of the Four Noble Truths, because the Four Noble Truths tend to be like there is dukkha, there is this unsatisfactoriness, and but there is a cause, so that it's this sense of, okay, there is this effect, or there is this experience, and then there's a cause of that experience, and so that and then the Buddha points to various forms of desire, clinging, craving, tanha. There's also a cessation of dukkha. There is an ending of discontent, dissatisfaction. There is a cessation, nirodha, and there is a path leading to cessation. So there is, again, effect, and then the cause of that. So And that's how the Buddha laid it out. And Luang Por kind of reformulates it, and puts the cause first, and then the effect or the result after that. So he said the mind going outside of itself is the cause of dukkha, and the experience of the mind going outside of itself is the say that what that is the experience of dukkha itself, and that when the mind is moving, it's going out of itself, it's following its moods, its impressions, that when it follows that is the cause of dukkha. And then the result of the mind going outside of itself is dukkha. And then the mind knowing itself, the entire, the jit and jit, sort of the mind knowing itself, the mind knowing the mind, is the path leading to the cessation of dukkha. And then the result of the mind knowing itself is the ending of dukkha. That is the effect. So he brings it back to that sense of the being just knowing the heart itself. Citta is sort of like the heart, not the mind in the sense of our intellect, our conjectures, our philosophizing. That's only a small part. Citta is sort of the whole package of the intellect, the emotions, the ability to be aware, to direct attention, sort of the whole package. We don't have a distinction in the English language, but it's helpful to be able to reflect on some of these fundamental terms, so that sense of knowing is the foundation where we untangle there's this kind of the problematic nature of our being, and recognizing how we do tangle ourselves up, which is exactly why the Buddha points to say dukkha, points to unsatisfactoriness, because we have to understand a problem before we can really deal with it or work with it or rectify it or overcome it. If we don't understand something clearly, then we keep either repeating it, or we just miss the point. That sense of so how often is do you get asked, oh, how you doing? Oh, fine. Oh, fine. And I just deflect, go on, make believe, whatever, anything to actually acknowledge or feel too clearly, or the other, again, it's that entangling is that we end up sort of identifying so strongly with our kind of our emotions and impressions that we just get hopelessly tangled. There isn't an ability to kind of step back and understand and see it as an experience, as opposed to this is me and my problems, me and my difficulties, me and my achievements, me and my wonderful nature. I mean, there's all kind of bases of entanglement, which is why when we think of dukkha, being able to be able to recognize what is it that leaves us feeling unsatisfied, discontent, feeling a sense of dis-ease, and that sense of dis-ease, and not completely easeful, not completely clear, not completely steady. I think that was one of the things that really inspired me to commit to living and training with Ajahn Chah, was watching him be a teacher, be a leader, but also to be subject to say scrutiny, to projections of either of faith or devotion, or of criticism and kind of doubt as to his correctness of how he was doing things, how he was running community, how he was teaching, and just being in the midst of praise and blame, being in the midst of say respect and disrespect, being in the praise in the midst of things going well, or things really not going well, things, difficulties arising, and just seeing his steadiness and clarity and unshakability. That is this is somebody who is not creating suffering out of the experience of human existence, and that sense of, I want to be close to that. I want to see how to do that, and it's because that sense of dukkha is manifest in so many different ways. It's sort of like the Buddha points to different kinds of dukkha, like and like three basic categories that he points to, and one dukkha in the sense of dukkha that is unpleasant, it's difficult. We experience that which is unpleasant, difficult. We might be physically ill, or we might be on the receiving end of some kind of painful situation, of criticism or confusion, and that's dukkha. This is dukkha because it is dukkha. This is trying to paint it over in some kind of gloss it over and make it into something else. It isn't how it works. Okay, this is dukkha dukkha. The other is the dukkha of separation, and this points to a dukkha that is the separation from the loved, separation from the from happiness, separation from success. That sense that there is always a human existence, any kind of existence, is there's necessarily a separation from what is pleasing, what is desired, what is wanted, because it can only be sustained for so long, and that's then it changes. It's quite natural, but it has to be known and not just getting again that entangling oneself with the efforts to prop up something that is pleasing and desired. It doesn't mean one just lets things fall apart. There are things that are skillful, are wholesome, are beneficial, and it's appropriate to put effort into that, and then you can be, but not shaken when it does reach its a sense of that sense of separation. The last one is the dukkha of things being of a compounded nature. So whether it's physical, mental, external, internal, everything is of a compounded nature, and therefore there's always an internal tension to everything. So that again, when there's striving to make things conform to an idea or an ideal of how you think it should be, that's there's a tension there, and when say when our meditation goes really well, that it's formed together with different conditions in order for it to be there for a certain period of time, but then inevitably it has to change, it has to dissipate, it has to reconfigure itself, it has to there's because things are of a compounded nature, there are many forces, both for its entropy, but also to build it up, to sustain it, to keep it steady, so that there's always a certain internal tension. Of course, that's exactly why I say the goal of Buddhism is the asankata, there is this unconditioned, unformed, uncreated, and without that, there would not be the escape from the form, the condition, the created. But that's to be able to see that, recognize it, requires this fundamental knowing, awareness, clarity, and to be able to tune into that, recognize its strength, recognize its as a basis for release and relief from dukkha. So in that sense, as the Luang Por Dun, the mind, knowing the mind, that is the path leading out of dukkha, and which is obviously that that is that's a practice teaching, and and it's also, say, the Buddha, the encouragement to pay attention to both the internal and external factors that support one, that are our sense of the arising of dukkha, but the external, internal factors for the ending of dukkha. It's like in the Noble Eightfold Path, in the Four Noble Truths, is it covers the whole range of from right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. It's a complete training of our being, and so that this recollection, reflection, returning to the Four Noble Truths is a encouragement that the Buddha kept returning to over and over again. That's how he began his teaching career, his dispensation, and it's something that we'll say was useful and valid 2,500 years ago. I don't think human beings have changed all that much in 2,500 years, and so it to me, it's still one of the most useful things that we can be attending to, reflecting on, cultivating, and understanding of. So that's a kind of a brief overview, Four Noble Truths, and just encouragement for reflection and investigation. So I'll end the talk here, and then we'll move to Q&A. I saw a few.
Starting in the middle there with Rick. That was the first question.
That was the first question.
Yeah,
Okay.
He has a follow-up on the same theme.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there is a question. I frequently feel driven to do more, accomplish more, get more, experience more, feeling perpetually dissatisfied, feeling not enough. How do we quiet this craving and learn to be content? Well, there's an aspect of it as well. How do we balance letting go of having to be constantly productive with not becoming too lazy and irresponsible? It all comes back to the again, this experience of dukkha. So that one is recognizing, there is, say, either socially or personally, there is this feeling that if I got more, if I did more, if I accomplished more, then I would be satisfied. And it's just, and we keep buying into that. And it's on a certain level, in a in the realm of say, like accomplishment or intellectual, philosophical ideas, ideals. One can always make a case for that, but say just the way that desire works, it works exactly the same way with everything. It's like, say, how many donuts do I have to eat before it's enough? I mean, how many? It's how many pieces of cake are there that were or whatever is one's say particular craving and preference. You have to sort of bring it back to that kind of level and recognize there's no real difference. It's desire is not especially in terms of tanha. This is like tanha is craving, is thirst. That's its fundamental, say, root meaning is kind of thirst, craving, tanha. It's always associated with greed, hatred, delusion. It's always going to end up in dukkha. So that, whether it's for some intellectual, spiritual, or just some mundane, worldly gratification, it's never going to be enough. And it's the seeing the dukkha that is where the willingness to relinquish, to let go, comes in. We're motivated to let go, to relinquish when we see that it is it's too much, it's too difficult, it's too complicated, it's too much frustration. So that one is willing to let go, and that sense of being just reflecting on the discomfort is exactly why it's like in the Buddha's teachings on the Four Noble Truths, there are the Four Noble Truths and there is the appropriate response to each truth. And I think that's important to, or in the Pali, it's almost translatable as, say, duty, the gicca. It's like the duty that we have, or the appropriate response to each truth is part of the formulation that's really important to attend to, so that the truth of dukkha, of unsatisfactoriness, is to be understood. That's the in order to respond appropriately, it needs to be understood. It needs to be known fully. That sense of parinyatapati is to be fully known, to be understood, and when it's fully understood, then it becomes more clear as to, well, where's this coming from? Because usually when we experience suffering or dissatisfaction, discontent, we want to get rid of that. I mean, it's quite natural. It's quite ordinary. Who wants to suffer? Who wants to be discontented? We want to get rid of that. But if we haven't understood it yet, then we try to annihilate it, or we try to distract ourselves with something else, or we try to couch it in some other kind of maybe intellectual distraction. So anyway, that understanding, then when it's understood, we start to see, oh, there is a cause. There is an origin to this arising, this experience. And that's where the Buddha points to these different forms of desire, of tanha. And tanha, the Buddha points to, of course, different types of specific types of desire or craving, sensual craving, craving for gratification through the senses. The craving for gratification of a sense of becoming, of being, of accomplishment, of having a sense of propping up a sense of me that I can feel kind of either comfortable or somehow that there is an identity or identification of a me that is somehow getting ahead. So it's propping up the sense of me. And then the craving for non-becoming, pushing away, rejecting, aversion. Those are these back and forth movements of the mind. And the Pali, bhavatanha, vibhavatanha. And it's that becoming, non-becoming, being, non-being, getting rid of. So that these forms of desire are that's to be let go of. Once one starts to see how that craving, that desire is working, that is what we can start letting go of. That's what we can start relinquishing. That's what we can start abandoning. In the Pali, bahata bandi, to abandon. And abandoning is sort of you're recognizing the problematic nature and then just letting it go, as opposed to getting on a crusade to annihilate it and destroy it, which is another type. That's vibhavatanha. And that adds to the cycle. There is two different forms or two different words that the Buddha uses for desire and craving, and it's helpful to know that, because it says that there is a distinction in the scriptural language in that, say, desire related to the Four Noble Truths is it's always going to end up in suffering. But in other teachings that the Buddha gives, there's the forms of desire that's called chanda, and that can be focused towards that which is skillful, that which is beneficial, or maybe motivation is a better word, but that's or interest. The other word is chanda. So it can be like Dhamma chanda, that desire for the truth, desire for Dhamma. Kusala chanda, the desire for the wholesome, for the good, for the beneficial. So those are, and that's something that the Buddha points to as essential for progress on the path. So it's there's a nuanced relationship to desire, but it's that say with recognizing tanha and then the letting go taking place there. And that, and then they say the cessation of dukkha, the ending of dukkha, is to be realized. And so that to make it real, like to actually, like, so we can spend all of our time just focusing on dukkha all the time, or desire all the time. And how much time do we pay attention to the cessation of dukkha? How much time do we pay attention to the ending of dissatisfaction or discontent? And that's a really important and essential element of our practice, because that to realize that there is, to make it real, to have it as a real experience. Oh, there is an ending of dukkha. There is a cessation, and that sense of what opens. What does that feel like? What is it? What's the experience as there is an ending, and how do we tune into that? And of course, the last factor of say of the Four Noble Truths is the path leading to cessation of dukkha is the Noble Eightfold Path, and that is to be cultivated, that is to be developed, that is to be brought into being. Bhave tabanti, that is to be brought into being. So that the response, the appropriate response to each of the truths is a part of the exploration that we all engage in. So that to be attending to these aspects. There is a question: how do we balance letting go of having to be constantly productive with not becoming too lazy and irresponsible? Well, you'll if you're becoming lazy and irresponsible, well, you'll suffer. I mean, it won't feel good. It won't feel, and in the same way that kind of that compulsion to be constantly productive is a burden on the heart, a burden on the mind, and that is something that we just needing to attend to. There's always this balance, and again, this is like Ajahn Chah would always talk about Dhamma. It was somebody, I saw on many occasions. He's asked, well, what is Dhamma? I mean, just like, he's just making this stuff up, or what is Dhamma anyway? And it's just Dhamma is balance, in the sense of Dhamma is bodhi. There's this quality of just right, and of course that the feeling of when things are just right is freedom from dukkha, sense of well-being, sense of ease, sense of clarity, this being able to be with the knowing. Okay, next question from Holly. I recently finished reading the Majjhima Nikaya in 2 years. What book of suttas would you recommend next? Well, I would recommend probably, well, it doesn't really matter. In the sense of what comes to mind is, of course, is either Samyutta Nikaya or Anguttara Nikaya, and both of them are compilations that are have a slightly different flavor. Anguttara Nikaya is what are the numerical discourses, and that is then how do you say, it's a bit more random. I mean, there's the 2 of this, there's 2, 3 of that, the 7 of this. I mean, it has that theme, but it is a bit more random in terms of themes that come up. And so it's kind of interesting in that way. The Samyutta Nikaya is completely organized around themes, and sometimes some of them can be a bit long and repetitive, and so you can get sometimes you can get a bit bored because it's coming at things from different angles. But there's, to me, I think probably Samyutta Nikaya has some of the of course, Majjhima Nikaya is fantastic. It's got some great content in it. Some of the suttas in the Samyutta Nikaya are really, really special. But they're so you can't go wrong either way. Now, okay. Paul, are there 2 ways to cessation of suffering? 1, abandon craving, the duty or the response to the second noble truth, or to fully develop does the Eightfold Path lead to abandoning craving? Can we abandon craving? I don't think it's so. Yeah, well, maybe are there 2 ways to cessation of suffering? 1, abandon craving, the response to the second noble truth, or 2, fully develop the Eightfold Path. Does the Eightfold Path lead to abandoning craving? Can we abandon craving directly? I would say it's much more nuanced and interdependent. We only, things become separate because we use language or we direct our attention in a particular way. The cultivation of the Eightfold Path kind of predicates or is based on or is leading to the abandoning of craving, so that can we abandon craving directly? Yes, if you've been developing the path to a sufficient degree, then you can. But I mean, these are dependent. They are. We sometimes it's just because we can say something, and it becomes a separate idea or a separate concept. Doesn't mean that's how it works in reality. So that taking the whole structure of the Four Noble Truths and teasing them out and reflecting on them, allowing room for a lot of nuance and interconnection is really, really important. And there's a flexibility in the mind and the heart that tends to come with that. Okay, can chanda be accompanied by tanha? As sometimes not being able to fulfill a skillful desire leads to remorse. Oh yes, I mean we can we can work tanha into everything. where we can make suffering out of any, anything, and that's exactly where we need to be attuned to the experience, the feeling, that sense, because on an ideal level, this wholesome desire and this skillful practice should really should be working, but I still feel unsatisfied, or I still feel ill at ease. I still feel uncomfortable. That's what is actually pointing us back to okay. There's a bit more reflection, bit more nuance, bit more supportive conditions need to be lifted up. It's that sense of a balance and attending to experience.
Let's have a follow-up question on that. Just as you were talking, the question occurs to me of is guilt, like in the question, is guilt a form of vibhava tanha? Is it a form of aversion, trying to get kind of self-blame, getting rid of?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of
trying to figure out what kind of dukkha,
what kind of dukkha it is, what kind of God. Yeah, no, I think it's but yeah, certainly the that sense of of guilt, and I think it's helpful to recognize that there is a difference between, say, remorse and guilt, and there is because there are some things that when we've done them and it really hasn't led to something skillful and beneficial, or we have hurt somebody, I mean, it's appropriate to have some kind of remorse. Otherwise, I mean, because one is not training to be a sociopath. But guilt is something a bit more where one takes something, that feeling of not having done something quite right, and then revisiting, rehashing, and propping up a sense of or punishing oneself. So it's like a vibhava tanha. I shouldn't be this way. I shouldn't be like that. I need to get rid of this in order for me to be better. And so there's that sense of guilt is kind of there's an identification with me that is kind of punishing oneself in a certain way. Remorse is more an acknowledgement of something, and then because that leads to a motivation for skillful response or improving oneself, changing oneself in some way. Guilt just tends to sort of keep going around and around.
The hiriyottapa is the skillful remorse.
Hiriyottapa is like skillful remorse. That hiri and ottapa are what the Buddha calls protectors of the world, and of course in English it's very limited in how it's translated. Shame of at one's wrongdoing and fear of wrongdoing, which is a terrible translation. But you realize, No, when the Buddha says Hiri and Ottappa are protectors of the world, these are really beautiful qualities that are uplifting to the heart. Okay, it is 8:04, and we've actually managed to answer all the questions. We'd just like to close the evening. Also, before closing,
several announcements.
Do you want to go for it?
One is Ajahn Sudanto has asked us to be aware of the possibility that YouTube might start putting ads on our live streams. So we'd just like to get feedback. Apparently it varies from person to person and it's not uniform through one broadcast. So if you see ads coming in, if you could just send an email to hermitage@abhayagiri.org, then just to let us know the ad and what you've seen. We're just kind of trying to track that for the time being and develop an appropriate response if that continues to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one announcement.
Garden party.
Garden party. Yes. Garden party. Come and help us out with various tasks and enjoy some good camaraderie of like-minded people. Saturday, August 7th, this coming Saturday?
This coming Saturday, yeah.
Right. And you can come and join us for the meal at be here by 10:30 if you like to be part of the potluck meal. Bring along something to contribute and join in with that. And or just to come, the work would be starting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We usually just go for a couple of hours at the most, and then afterwards hang out for tea and good Dhamma conversation. Schmoozing. So that's this Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's I mean there are we're because it's outside, and then it feels comfortable to keep that on a calendar for the next this today, next week as well. We will just do a virtual meeting and then reassess it as it gets closer. Hopefully things will start to, this will just be a spike that is already starting to dissipate. Who knows?
Hopefully within a few weeks.
Yeah.
As it had in England, I think, but we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Best wishes to everyone.